Alright, YouTube and Fallout community, so we have some pretty interesting news here today. Apparently, in the beginning stages, or the beginning development of Fallout New Vegas, they were supposed to have 3 playable races. It's actually pretty interesting to learn about this so far after, Fallout New Vegas came out, but the CEO of Obsidian Entertainment actually did an interview type of thing with Eurogamer.net, and that's how we learned about this shit. Did you know Obsidian originally wanted 3 playable races in Fallout New Vegas? This is the part literally crossed out, struck through and colored red on the Fallout 3.5 treatment. Obsidian CEO Fergus Urquhart, I think is how you say it, it's kind of a weird last name, showed me at the studio. Originally, we had this idea where the player would be able to choose between 3 races, human, ghoul, and super mutant, he said. It was just the engine. By the engine, of course, he means like the engine they used to make Fallout 3, because this was, and why they referred to this as Fallout 3.5, because this was a spin-off title. It wasn't a numbered sequel, and why they're able to make it so quick is because they built it off the back of Fallout 3. It really had to do with how all of the weapons and armor worked. Trying to have them all work with ghouls and supermutants was just going to be, Bethesda felt like it was going to be a nightmare. It wasn't like they said no, but it was a very strongly worded, we would really suggest that you not try to do that. So that kind of makes sense to a degree. The thing is, though, ghouls, not looking at feral ghouls, just regular ghoul people, are no different than regular people in the game. They just have, rotting flesh. Now, Supermutant is a lot bigger of a character. It wouldn't be able to just throw on, any set of fucking leather armor or something like that. Or in the gun animations would be different because they're much bigger characters. But on the ghoul aspect of things, I don't think it'd be that complicated to make your character a ghoul. He's just a normal person with rotting flesh. Obsidian and Bethesda began talking about Fallout in 2008 and 2009, when Aliens Crucible and Alpha Protocol were both still alive. Aliens Crucible would soon get the chop. Bethesda was still pitching it internally, so it was literally just an idea at the time, said Urquhart. We knew from the start it was not going to be Fallout 4. That was the internal teams. It was always intended to be essentially a gigantic expansion, added Obsidian co-owner Chris Parker. It was meant to be not the sequel, continued Urquhart. It was meant to be an offshoot project, but we were actually worried about that, about people thinking of it as just a big expansion. Obsidian considered it to be more like Grand Theft Auto Vice City or Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which were Grand Theft Auto 3 offshoots, but full games in their own right. So obviously we already knew that because it wasn't a numbered sequel. It wasn't called Fallout 4, it was called Fallout New Vegas. We already kind of knew it was like an offshoot type of game. The Grand Theft Auto comparison is actually a pretty good one because, again, there was there was Grand Theft Auto 3, then there was Vice City, then there was San Andreas, and then finally they came out with Grand Theft Auto 4, which is actually the numbered sequel. It's actually kind of weird when you think about it, looking at the Grand Theft Auto series and even the Fallout series. Numbered sequels don't make a whole lot of sense because they're never actual fucking sequels. They're not direct sequels from each other, so the number part of it actually shouldn't even matter anyways. Understandably, given the studio's deep roots in Black Isle, the original creator of Fallout, excitement for the project was sky high. I didn't leave Black Isle because I wanted to make another Fallout, said Urquhart. I love making Fallout. I was lead designer on Fallout 2. I'm not in any way instrumental in the creation of the special system, but I absolutely participated in the creation of it. As Bethesda Game Studios had dibs on the east coast of America, Obsidian took the west. Someone threw up New Reno as one of the crazy things we did, and then we saw Vegas and, shrugged Urquhart, we just went with it. From there, it was like the 50s had the Rat Pack. Then someone threw out the idea. There was the scene in Goodfellas where you get taken out into the desert and whacked and thrown into a grave, and it all kind of turned that way. Something I found interesting with that part is they mentioned how Bethesda Game Studios had dibs on the East Coast, which is obvious with Fallout 3 taking place in the DC area and Fallout 4 taking place in the Boston area, both on the East Coast. This is just a further testament to me that they should have Obsidian come back or another game studio come back and let them do some West Coast shit or some Mid-America type of stuff, because the fucking Bethesda is so obsessed with the goddamn East Coast. I want to see other parts of America. I'm also one of those people that would not mind seeing a Fallout game take place in some other part of the world. Though Fallout's always kind of been in America, I think it always has been in America, I wouldn't be totally against the idea of them going somewhere else in the world. That's what's good about having the other studios come in and do these branch off and spin off titles for the Fallout series, is they can take it to other places in America or even other places in the world, and Bethesda can have their fucking hard on for the East Coast. Bethesda didn't need much convincing, given the history of Obsidian Black Isle, so only a short proposal was written. We put together a very short pitch, probably 3 pages, he said. The first time we pitched it, it was pitched as Fallout Sin City. Very quickly it got changed to Fallout Vegas, and then became Fallout New Vegas. So that's another interesting bit of info from this article, is that originally it was actually going to be called Fallout Sin City, which I think would have been a great name. It's kind of weird to look back at it now and think, think of it not being Fallout New Vegas, but if that was the name to begin with, we wouldn't think twice about it. Fallout Sin City would have been a cool name. Fallout Vegas would have been kind of stupid, honestly. I think Fallout New Vegas is just, in some weird way, Fallout New Vegas is just better than Fallout Vegas. Just sounds boring to me. Like, at the very least, it could have been Fallout Las Vegas or something. There's actually quite a bit more to this article, but it's mostly just talking about their Metacritic score, that whole thing where they had to get like an 85 with Metacritic, but they only got like an 84, and that whole, to get their bonus, all that shit. We don't need to talk about that. That's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about the potential for them having multiple races. This could have been great for so many things. Like, Fallout New Vegas is already, like, regarded as the best of the three in terms of being a role-playing game. And having multiple races would have just added to that, man. Because the dialogue would have been different. Or at least, in theory, the dialogue would have been different depending on the race of your character. Because if you're a ghoul, if you're around people that don't like ghouls, maybe they attack you on sight. Maybe they don't want to give you information because you are a ghoul. Same thing with the super mutant. Now, generally, in the Fallout games, super mutants are almost exclusively enemies. There are the select few, and like, you know, in Fallout 3 there was Fox. Fallout New Vegas had Lily and Mean Son of a Bitch in West Side, and then of course Fallout 4 had Strong. So in the Fallout games there are the non-hostile super mutants, but they're almost exclusively enemies, whereas like there's a lot of non-feral ghouls throughout the Fallout games. So it'd have been kind of interesting to walk around as a super mutant and see how people reacted to you, right? Because you'd think that people would just kind of attack you on sight because you're a fucking super mutant walking around. But also, playing as a ghoul or a super mutant would allow you to access locations a lot easier than as a regular, like, person. Because, like, Fallout New Vegas already has it where you can put on, faction armor and go to locations and not be attacked or whatever. It'd been the same thing. You could have gone to, like, a ghoul location since you are a ghoul, and they shouldn't, I don't think they attack regular ghouls, if I'm not mistaken. And the same thing with super mutants. As long as you're walking around a super mutant location, they shouldn't attack you either. And if they added these races, they could have added in like a ghoul faction for you to like have in the game, and maybe even a super mutant faction. Maybe as a super mutant you can join super mutants and like enslave people and become like a super bad guy or something. Like, there could have been so much potential to having other races in the game. If you guys remember, I did a video a couple months back about the leaks for, like, potential leaks for Bethesda's E3 press conference for 2017 and for the future of Bethesda. And in that video and in that post, the guy talking about things for the future, they mentioned Fallout 5 and how in Fallout 5, you're supposed to be able, according to this person, choose if you want to be a person, a regular person, a ghoul, or a super mutant. So I find it kind of interesting that after a few months after that leak kind of blew up, that the CEO from Obsidian comes out and says that, well, in Fallout New Vegas, originally we were going to have the option of choosing different races. Now, I'm not saying that this confirms that leaker's information, but it kind of has to add to the credibility a little bit that they call this, even if they just pulled it out of their ass and made it up. It is kind of weird that a couple months down the road we learned this information about Fallout New Vegas. The only bad side I see with these potential races being in maybe the next Fallout game is that it takes away from one of the core things about the Fallout series, and that is the radiation. Both ghouls and super mutants are immune to radiation. So how would that come into play if you choose to be a ghoul or like a super mutant? You just walk anywhere you want to in theory. Like, I just don't understand how that'd work. Anyways, guys, that's what we're going to end the video. So let me know your thoughts below on this new information, dude. It's pretty fucking cool. Honestly, I would have loved to have seen this have different races in the Fallout series. It's harder to do in the Fallout series than it is, say, the Elder Scrolls series, because it's a little more grounded in reality. There's only people in the world, right? You can only play as people, or ghouls or super mutants. So that's really the only other options we have if we're going to have other races in the game. So I'd like to see this implemented in maybe the next Fallout game, but who knows if they're ever going to do anything with it. Anyways, guys, if you went on to enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, turn on my notifications, follow me on Twitter, links to my social networks are in the description. And in the outro, later, guys.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face, tell me that you love me, even if it's fake, 'cause I don't fucking care.